let's find an angle that I'm happy with for that. That should do it, I think. Anyways, I'm for a high angle this time. Not sure why. Actually, let's bring that down a little. One of these days, I'll actually start this thing and just start it as opposed to fiddle with the camera for like the first minute. But today is not that day. Alrighty. So, in case folks either don't know how to decipher the title of this thing or miss the Twitter clarification, oh goodness, excuse me. Topic this week is YouTube and YouTubing and how I approach this thing that apparently I do. And also, drinking question, in addition to the usual standards, is, hey, what are your thoughts on the Spider-Man movie thing? So, if anyone is wondering, video tomorrow. I am moving the Doctor Who overdue review to Friday, which I don't like doing, but that's what it's going to be. It isn't an official live stream without technical difficulties. So very, very true. What's on your mug? Oh, the mug. There you go. Oh, and the other thing I'll mention, just to mention it up top before I start digging into what is actually going to be the topic, there it is. Everybody drink. Video tomorrow. But I watched the Rocko's Modern Life special, Static Cling. I'm not going to do a video on it. I realized by the time it was done, I don't have much to say. I realized as I was watching, I'm like, oh yeah, I never really got into this show. And as it went along, I was reminded of all the reasons why it was never really my thing. So I can't really judge it as a revival of the show because I'm not a fan of the original show. I know the show has its fans, and I'm not going to say it's a bad show. It was never for me. And then, as far as the trans elements of it, I thought they were handled perfectly fine. And that's kind of all I've got to say on that. Somebody's requiring technical assistance. What's happening? What's going on? I really like the Let's Play of Newfound Courage. That's good, because there's going to be more parts to that. What are your thoughts on LGBTQ plus creators suing YouTube? I was not aware that that was a thing. So, you're gonna have to. Well, I was gonna say fill me in on that, but I have a feeling there's probably more to it than I'd be able to get from a chat comment. Oh, thank you very much, Mike. What do you think about the He-Man Netflix anime announced over the weekend? I am curious. So the thing with that, if people missed it, and I did tweet on this, Netflix is going to be doing a He-Man show. Before She-Ra fans get all excited, it is unlikely to cross over because apparently this is going to be, even though the visual style is changing because they're getting the studio that did Castlevania, so it's going to be anime style, but narratively it's going to be picking up where the original He-Man series left off with those same characters. It's going to have Kevin Smith as the showrunner, and I'm really curious. I want to see a trailer. That's basically my thing. Like, on those things, I'm like, well, okay. Let's see what it is. Have you seen any more of Jessica Jones Season 3? Nope. It's only just the first episode. Go to What's the Safe Word to see the video about LGBTQ suing YouTube. I'm going to have to do that after the live stream, I think. Just because I'm not gonna make everybody wait while I do research. New drinking game. Do you remember the end of He-Man? I'm not sure I ever saw the last episode. actually. So anyways, getting on to the supposed primary topic. This thing that I do, I wanted for a while to sort of talk about how I approach YouTube and, you know, all the stuff that just goes on with it. But I could never figure out a format to do it, and because I don't know what questions people would actually have versus what I would just, you know, think people would want to hear from me. So I figured a more active Q&A sort of session would make a lot more sense to try and tackle this sort of thing. Thank you, Meg. Good to see you tonight. Have you gotten a chance to watch Infinity Train yet? I have not. I have not. The whole series takes near 90 minutes to finish. It's such a well-made fantasy sci-fi show. Oh, if that's it, I will try and carve out time this week. No promises. I've got a lot on my plate, but I will try. Favorite type of porn? You'll forgive me for not answering that one. What do you think about Spider-Man being pulled out of the MCU? There it is again. Everybody drink. Video on that tomorrow. Does this live stream hurt your YouTube stats? So far as I can tell, no. If they were, I would have figured out a different way to do this. I mean, there are some channels that have like a completely separate thing for their live streams, and I considered doing that, but I think it's only when like you're really big that the differential between what you get on a live stream versus a normal video actually starts hurting you, and I'm not big enough for that to happen. How close are you to being able to do YouTube full time and quit your day job? If I really, really tighten my belt, maybe halfway. And when I say that, that's based both off of what I get through YouTube and also Patreon. If both of those doubled, then I think I might just barely be able to make it. It's tough. My channel and also the Patreon support is of a size that somebody with less riding on their ability to make their monthly bills might do the leap and you know, quit their day job and make a go at it, to devote full time and see if they could give it that push that it needs. I'm not going to do that. I need everything to get to the point where I'm already gonna be okay before I can safely quit my job. I can't like do a leap of faith to cover a gap, because it's not just about me. I have a family. I have a kid. I have people dependent on me. So I've got a lot to lose if I quit my job and this doesn't work. So if I was younger, you know, didn't have the same responsibilities, maybe it would be a case where I could quit my job now and hope that devoting full time would, you know, allow me to do the things I need to do to push it further faster. But that's just kind of where it is right now. What would you say is your favorite book by Dr. Seuss? At this point, I'm partial to, I had trouble in getting Solace Alou, because it's the one my daughter asked me to read the most. So I have a lot of fun reading that one. Have you watched the third and last season of Legion yet? No, God, I haven't even started it. There's so much stuff I'm behind on right now. It's like taking a week vacation and then taking a 3-day weekend to do Terrificon really put me behind. Well, no, I'll retract that. I'm not behind, but it killed my cushion. I used to have a cushion of like being a week or two ahead in terms of stuff, and I'm not anymore. Now I really need to just, you know, scramble to get stuff out on time and try and rebuild that cushion. So time for stuff just for fun is very, very limited. Thoughts on Spider-Man leaving the MCU? Everybody drink. Video tomorrow. There's a new Matrix movie being made. What are your thoughts on it? I'm more interested since Lana Wachowski is being involved. Lily's apparently not working on it, but having one of them involved perks my interest a lot more because up to this point, it looked like it was going to happen regardless. And both the Wachowskis, they kind of said that they were going into semi-retirement. So having Lana involved makes me more interested than I would have been otherwise. Because as much as, there are issues with the Matrix sequels, I think the idea of, I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers has the rights on these, the idea of them just doing whatever they want with no input from the original creative team, that would really make me nervous. I was able to get a Hamilton ticket. I'm seeing it in October. Very lucky. If you ever hypothetically did quit your job for YouTube, would you choose to do bigger projects or daily videos? Bigger projects. So, I have it in my head what my day would be like if I was able to have my full-time job be this. Because there are a number of things that it would enable me to do. So, thoughts on Spider-Man leaving the MCU. Everybody drank. Video tomorrow. So, in my mind, I would still be putting in a full 8-hour day of working. And I'd get up, I have coffee, and then I would do 3 hours of writing. And of whatever. Whether it is writing a script for a future video, revising scripts, working on a piece of fiction, something. 3 hours of writing, 2 hours of viewing and note-taking for whatever it is that I'm... 2 hours of either shooting new stuff or watching stuff that I need to in order to create content. And then wrap out the last 3 hours of the day with just editing. And in my mind, I would keep the 4 videos a week schedule. But I would start having some of those videos be bigger projects, be things that involve a lot more editing, a lot more elaborate shooting, maybe locations, maybe a different set than just this. That's the kind of stuff that I would love to do if I had the time, and I just don't right now. Thank you very much, Meg. How would you try to fix the YouTube copyright laws? I don't know, because the problem is the best things that could be done to fix them require an amount of manpower that simply is not reasonable, because YouTube and Google might theoretically have all the money in the world, but there's only so many people you can hire to do the things that would need to be done to do it properly. Because the best thing to do would be to force anyone trying to make a copyright claim to prove they had ownership of the thing before that claim actually went through. I'm not even talking about strikes. I actually have never had to deal with a copyright strike. But it would be nice if these people had to prove that they actually held the copyright to these things. But they don't, which is part of the initial problem, which is basically that anybody can issue a copyright claim. Now, it seems to be changing, but there also isn't a lot of punishment for issuing spurious claims. I think they cracked down on individuals who it turns out didn't have any rights to claim at all, but corporations, there is nothing that is done against them if they make claim after claim after claim after claim, and then it gets determined to be free use every single time. They suffer no consequences for that. They disrupt the YouTuber and suffer no consequences. It's why they claim as much as they do. It's still better than it was, certainly in terms of what happens with the revenue, but it's messed up. And some are better than others depending on just their attitude and how they approach it. Because some copyright holders are absolute pricks, and some are pretty chill, and it really is a case-by-case basis. Any tips for not getting too focused on numbers and losing sight of having fun? Tips on it? No. You do have to do it. I mean, my honest suggestion is, first of all, you shouldn't really be looking at your analytics if you're not at least 500 subscribers. I would say 1,000, because analytics, when you're dealing with numbers that low, aren't useful, because literally 5 more people watch a video, and suddenly it's a significant percentage of what your subscriber base is, and it makes the analytics go all over the place. So honestly, you shouldn't be looking at numbers at all for a while. How do you decide who is a moderator or guest, etc. on the channel? Certain degree of trust. I have one moderator in this chat. It's actually the very first time that I've tried having a moderator, so we'll see how it goes. No pressure. So it's not something that I hand out willy-nilly. It's something I'm very, very cautious about. Did you finally see the new video that Lindsay Ellis did on Game of Thrones? Yeah, I did. It was good. I mean, she does really good stuff. It was good, and it was funny, and it was well thought out. I didn't agree with her assessment of every character that she sort of went over issues with, but I can't say she was wrong about really any of it. A while back, I came across this really overlooked animated feature from 2011. It's a Hungarian film called The Tragedy of Man, its absolute spectacle of genius and depth. Hadn't thought of that one. Thoughts on YouTube discussing possibly removing the dislike button? I don't think it matters, because at this point, the dislike button doesn't actually hurt you, because it still counts as engagement. So, like, a high dislike to like percentage, that's basically information for the video maker, and they decide how much stock they put into it. There was a time, once upon a time, where a high dislike thing actually meant something. It doesn't really anymore, at least as far as we're able to figure out the algorithm, because that's the big thing you need to realize. Anything I say relating to the algorithm is presumption, because YouTube doesn't tell us what the algorithm is and how it works. And I get why they don't, because the instant people know how the system works, they can figure out how to cheat it and how to, fake things, that, create things that will please the algorithm but are not actually quality content that anybody wants. That's how, like, 3 or 4 years ago, we had lots of incredibly bizarre supposed kids things that were like these weird, basic Microsoft Movie Maker stiff 3D CGI things moving around with, like, Spider-Man and Elsa, and she was pregnant. Like, stuff like that was around because it knew how to game the algorithm as it existed. So as much as it frustrates me that they change the algorithm and don't tell us, I also get it, because when the platform is this open and there's no barrier to entry to get to start putting stuff up, then you can't just tell people how the system works, because there'll be too many bad actors who will just cheat the system, who will figure out how to do it and then just do it. How was your time on Ace Creeper's podcast? It wasn't bad. I got to get a better mic for that, though, because I did not love, like, my end of the audio was not great quality. I feel actually really bad about that. Any tips for how to format reviews? On my channel, I mainly review Big Finish content, and my reviews are mainly recaps of the plot, while I list what I like versus what I don't like. Well, when you do something like Big Finish, which you can't necessarily count on a ton of people having read or heard, that's probably a really good approach to it. Now, I do things a little bit different with a lot of reviews that I do, because most of the stuff that I review, unless otherwise noted, I'm usually presuming that my audience has seen it already. That's obviously, I assume that to be the case with the overdue Doctor Who reviews. I assume that to be the case with the majority of movie reviews that I do for, like, Marvel and whatever, because, I'm not a professional critic. I'm not getting to see these things prior to release. So I'm getting videos out a few days after release, and I figure anybody who really cared about it will have already seen it. And so my approach to reviews is very much in that vein. I will still point out specific plot points that I want to bring up, and I'll give a warning before I get into flat-out spoilers. I don't usually do plot recaps, but again, it's primarily because most of the stuff I talk about review-wise, I presume the audience kind of has some familiarity with. And if they don't, I'll go more out of my way to figure out how to synopsize the plot, usually giving the initial pitch of the thing to talk about the broad strokes and then warning about going into spoilers. And then from there, I just treat it like they've already seen it and proceed accordingly. I don't usually look at analytics, but I can't help going, that didn't even crack 50 views. Okay, so let me just talk about the sort of metric I use for myself in terms of views and gauging how successful any given video was. Now, the first thing that I'm going to say is what I'm about to say is specific to me and how I approach this. This is not going to be true of absolutely everybody. And depending on the format of a channel, they may treat things very differently. But here's the baseline that I use. As someone who's putting out regular content, you know, multiple videos a week. Because I would say it's very different for somebody who does a very lavish production once a month. You know, your Philosophy Tubes and your ContraPoints and your Lindsay Ellis and Patrick Willems and folks like that. That everything I'm about to say doesn't really apply to that kind of approach. You know, the really big deal, but less frequently released. But if you're doing a more steady sort of output, my baseline, sort of looking at it through the lens of like a job performance, you know, meets expectations, below expectations, exceeds expectations. Maybe if you're lucky, greatly exceeds expectations. So meeting expectations to me is any video that is able to capture views equal to 10% of my subscriber base within the first 24 hours of going up. So right now that means roughly 3,700 views in the first 24 hours. That for me meets expectations. It's not like amazing. I'm not doing a party, but I'm also not like, oh no, what went wrong there? It's fine. That's like C plus B minus sort of range. I'm sorry, I'm just pausing. What format are Big Finish in? Are they novels? No, they're audio adventures. So you buy them and you listen to them. Super boring question. What editing software do you use? I currently use Pinnacle, which I switched to because when my... I use Pinnacle Studio 20. I switched to not late last year, early 2017, because I'd been using Adobe Premiere Elements for years, and the software started to completely fall apart in a way that to me said this was designed to start failing after a while and forced me to upgrade. And I felt very big because things started going wrong with it that had never been the case up to that point. And I got very bitter and refused to upgrade with Adobe again. Now, next time I need to, maybe I will go back to Adobe. The Pinnacle's fine and I like it, but you know, I'm probably liable to bounce back and forth. Anyways, coming back to what I was saying. So my normal baseline for meets expectations, 10% of my subscriber base in views within the first 24 hours. Anything that is around half that to me is like, oh, that was a soft landing. Anything that like either barely or fails to crack 1,000 views at this point in the first 24 hours, that to me says maybe I don't do that topic again. Now there's a little bit of an X factor in this because I do have the commissioned reviews through Patreon, and those I don't worry about the views so much because I got paid up front for that. So from a strictly financial point, I can afford for the video not to do exceptionally well. That said, I still try and space those out and do no more than 2 a month if it's like outside my wheelhouse and I don't expect the video view to be especially big, because if you're doing a regular output of something that's underperforming relative to the other stuff, that will hurt you. But on the other end of things, so on the high end, anything that even hits, at this point, even half of my subscriber base, I'm very happy. That thrills me. And anything that, like even beyond the first 24 hours, anything that in a total view count meets or exceeds my subscriber numbers, I'm thrilled. Like that's viral in my world. Real viral by YouTube standards is 1 million views or better. In my little corner, in my little world, anything where the views are higher than my total subscriber numbers, that is viral to me. The other thing to mention about subscribers versus view number, do not assume that every subscriber you have is going to watch every video. You should never take your subscriber numbers up as, oh, I'll have that many views every time I put out a video. Not if you're doing multiple videos a week. That may be the case more, like I said, with the people who do the big, video essays, more the big productions, maybe one a month, because their releases are such big to-dos. Then in their cases, oftentimes, yes, they do meet or exceed their subscriber numbers in views on every video. But they're also putting out way fewer videos, and if any of those videos don't hit those numbers, that's actually gonna potentially impact them quite a bit. So, it's a balance between what you want to do with your channel, because always have an eye on what you actually enjoy doing, because you need to enjoy this even if you're not making money, because otherwise you're gonna burn out. And figuring out the balance of gains to losses. Because anyone who says, I don't pay attention to views and clicks at all, liar. Fitting question, any late bloomers in your catalog? Videos that grew on later? Yes, I'm having a hard time thinking of any off the top of my head. But there have been some that had their initial release, went very dormant, and then popped up again later. It happens sporadically with various videos. I can't think of a specific one off the top of my head. It's worth mentioning that Horton Hears a Who just turned 65 years old. Well, happy birthday to Horton. Thoughts on the Spider-Man Sony Marvel situation? Everybody drink. Video tomorrow. Besides the show and Big Finish, what else is there? Are they all canon? There's comic books, there's novels, there's video games, and they are canon unless the show contradicts them. Basically, the ultimate canon is the show. The various other things usually try to stay canon, but the show isn't keeping track of everything else. So the show's going to do its own thing, and if it contradicts something that was done in the other stuff, then you can now consider that to not be canon. But unless it's been contradicted by the show, most people take it as canon. So hold on, I'm going to Why address the Sony Marvel situation if it's just a rumor? Because it's actually got more backing and has reporting from more reliable sources than most of the stuff I'm prepared to dismiss as a rumor. It's got better sourcing. So usually when I say rumor, I don't want to talk about a rumor. It's because if I track something back to a source, it's literally like someplace going, hey, I heard this. And it's like a site I've never heard of or a channel I don't know. But the original source on this was Deadline. And they're pretty good. They're not always right, but they're pretty good in terms of their sourcing and their vetting what they put out there. So I do believe that what they put out is accurate at this moment in time. Again, video tomorrow from my full thoughts. In my opinion, the best animated film I've seen from 2008 is an Israeli documentary called Waltz with Bashir. I've heard of Waltz with Bashir. I haven't seen it. I did see, what was it, The Congress, I think it was, which was the next movie the same director made. That was a weird film. I think I liked it, but it was weird. I haven't seen Waltz with Bashir, though. Would you be interested in seeing the return of the Valyard? Not really. I never found the Valyard to be all that compelling. If they wanted to do something like the Valyard, what makes the most sense to me would be to bring back the Metacrisis Doctor and have that be the Valyard. Except I'm not saying I actually want them to do that, because to do that negates Rose's happy ending, and that's kind of a big middle finger to people who liked that. So I just don't find the Valyard that compelling. Same reason I don't really care if the Ronnie ever comes back. Do you think the next Fantastic Beasts movie will finally have proper gay inclusion in it with Dumbledore? I have no idea. I hope so, because at this point, like, it has become what's the word? It's become conspicuous by its absence at this point. Like, at this point, if they don't do it in the third film, then there's no reason that they can give to justify it at this point. So, I hope it's there only so I can stop shouting about that. I dislike the Fantastic Beasts movies enough that I don't have a lot of confidence that the next one's going to be any good. But I would like them to at least do that so I can stop frigging being mad about it. I don't want to be mad about that. I would like to stop now. Hello, what are we talking about? Well, primarily YouTube, but we're kind of jumping all over the place as we tend to do. Do you plan on watching or doing a video on Invader Zim enter the floor best? I might watch it. Video is doubtful. Unless it really blows me away. That said, I liked Invader Zim more than I liked Rocko's Modern Life, so there's a better chance that I'll like it, but I've also kind of grown out of Invader Zim. Like, I tried to rewatch some of it, I'm like, I know why I used to like this, but it's not really clicking for me anymore. I think I've just aged out of it, if I'm being completely honest, which is weird for me, because a lot of stuff I've loved since I was young that I know is stupid and for kids, I still enjoy, but for some reason that one didn't quite carry over for me. I've been into Doctor Who for a few years. I absolutely love it. Counselor Gibbs was the first person I found who shared my love of it. Aww! Thanks, Brittany. What one-time Doctor Who villain would you like to see return in the future? Not allowed to say Mr. Finch. We all know you love him. Arrgh! Yeah, that was going to be my big one. The Dream Master. Don't care how you bring him back, just bring him back. All right. Your hair's looking amazing today, having a good hair day. Well, I showered not long before. I showered with enough time for this to dry. So yeah. I gotta hop over to the Discord really quick, see what questions came in over there. So just bear with me here, folks. Let's see. Hold on. I am organized. No, I am not. There it is. Do you think there will ever be a big pushback against YouTube for some of their recent policies? I'm talking YouTubers actually leaving the platform for something else, or have we reached a point where everyone is content with just complaining about the changes as they happen? Here's the thing. YouTube is really, really embedded at this point. It would take a lot to disrupt YouTube. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's not something that's going to happen suddenly. There is not, I don't think, ever going to be a mass exodus of creators off of YouTube onto something else. For one very simple reason. No other platform for video can boast the growth potential and the viewer base. Because that's the thing. The only people at this point who could safely move off of YouTube are people who have really loyal fan bases who will follow them anywhere. But anyone who isn't that size, if you want to grow, you need to be here. Because this is where the viewers are. This has the algorithm that, assuming it doesn't completely screw you over, is pushing your content in front of people who are more likely to want it. This is where you grow. It's kind of like how I've said with launching Patreon. Patreon is a great place to build, to find a way to get support from your base. But you can't grow your platform on Patreon. You can direct people who like your stuff to your Patreon, but Patreon itself as a platform, nobody goes on Patreon and starts just searching for stuff. And it's the same thing with video. The alternatives out there, things like Vimeo, nobody goes to Vimeo to search around and see what there is, but they come to YouTube to do that. So you can't really grow on other platforms. All you can do is take hopefully, if you try, take whatever viewer base you have with you if you try and migrate. But you can't grow elsewhere right now. Let's see. Scariest single scene in Doctor Who, revived era. Well, I'm going to cheat and say midnight because basically from the point at which the Doctor comes back from the cabin right through the final scene with him and Donna, it is one continuous scene. So there. Interesting that you're a fan of the Dream Lord, but not the Valyard, given that they're both expressions of the Doctor's dark impulses. The thing about the Valyard, I find the Valyard at this point to be overly complicated in terms of his existence and how he came about and how people want him to come back. He's like, what I like about the Dream Lord is he's nice and simple. Dark side of the Doctor. He got hit with this thing that kind of brought that out of him. And if something else ever did that, we could have him back. The simpler explanation makes it easier to bring him back without a lot of technobabble or overcomplicated nonsense, which is what it's a big part of why I'm not thrilled about the idea of the Valyard ever coming back. We're going to be saddled with a lot of junk to explain who he is and why he's there. And the Dream Lord doesn't need that. As far as I'm concerned, the Valyard story is concluded after Big finishes The Last Adventure. Yeah, I haven't heard that one, so I couldn't tell you my thoughts on that. Any wisdom for anyone attempting to start their own channel? Yeah, figure out something that you will enjoy doing no matter what. Both, topics, format, whatever it is, have it be something that you will take some satisfaction and enjoyment out of doing, even if nobody watches. Because odds are that nobody will be, at the very least for quite a while. I took 5 years to get to 1,000 subscribers. And I wouldn't have kept doing this if I didn't just enjoy it as a thing. So, you really have to like doing this. Because if you come in with a goal of just growing and getting big, you're treating it like a job. And it can become a job. And if it ever does become a job, you should probably treat it like one. But if you treat it like a job when you're just starting out, you're never going to enjoy it enough to get it to the point where it could be a job. Have you ever heard of a mockumentary film called This is Spinal Tap? Of course. Like, has anyone not heard of Spinal Tap? Or is it just because it's like, at this point, and it's an old film? And I feel like Tony Stark listening to Spider-Man going, hey, have you ever seen that really old movie called The Empire Strikes Back? Yeah, Sonny in my day. Would you consider reviewing the existing TMNT movies and or shows? No, because I'm so out of the loop on that stuff right now. I do want to watch Batman versus TMNT. I do want to find the time to do that. But the shows and the constant reboots of the shows and the films and no. Have you ever seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World? And if so, what did you think? I enjoyed it at the time I saw it. I haven't rewatched it in a long time because as time has gone on, I've found more and more issue with a lot of the approach and sort of subtext and mentality of the characters. I don't like a lot of these people, and I don't like how a lot of these relationships are framed by the narrative. It's a good movie, and it's incredibly well executed for what it is, but my thoughts on it have softened over the years. Did your daughter take up your offer on a Hilda rewatch? Sadly, no, she didn't, but I think I rewatched a lighter episode of She-Ra to bring myself back up. Movies that everyone raves about that you can't stand. I'll do that as a video list eventually. I mean, the big obvious one for me is The Shining. More recently, the first It. I love your reviews, but I have to be honest. I felt your review of Reign of Superman was to be too harsh. I felt the pain the movie caused me to be too harsh. So, potato, potato. After watching your reviews, I finally caught up on She-Ra. My hope for season 4, Hordak learns the truth about Entrapta. Catra did them wrong. Now, Catra's burning every bridge everywhere. Like, whenever the show ends, whatever season it is, at some point, whether it's how she ends up at the very, very end, but at some point, Catra is going to be completely alone. Because that is the path she is on. And the last one who's going to be by her side before she is totally alone is going to be Scorpia. And eventually, Scorpia is going to realize that she is never going to care about her as much as she cares about Catra. And for self-preservation, she'll walk away, and Catra will be alone. And she'll have done it to herself. Are you looking forward to the Steven Universe TV movie? I still haven't really seen any of Steven Universe. Scandal. To be fair, the Reign of Superman comic was strange and disjointed. Compiling it into a concise narrative must have been a nightmare. I would agree with that, except that at this point, I don't feel the strength or weakness or length or whatever of the original source material is a valid defense of any of those things. Because there are massively complicated stories that have made great animated films. Look at New Frontier. You ever read that thing? It's this friggin' thick. They made a brilliant film out of it. Death of Superman, while a much simpler story than Reign of the Superman, is also not good. But they made a great movie out of it. Reign of the Superman, yeah, it's complicated, but if they put more thought into it, they could have streamlined it. And a lot of the stuff I didn't like was like really, had nothing to do with the source material. It was just stupid. A lot of stuff going on was just dumb on its face, regardless of what the source material was. So I'm not trying to get on that rant again. Hey there, Kaylee. What's your guilty pleasure movie? I mean, probably. I mean, first of all, I don't actually do guilty pleasures. I like what I like, and I don't apologize for it. But a couple of movies that I like that most people think are dumb and stupid and bad: the Masters of the Universe movie, G.I. Joe: Rise of Cobra, and The House on Haunted Hill from '99 with Jeffrey Rush. All movies that like people like, oh, that was dumb. I'm like, I love that. I thought Reign of the Superman was fine. Great. I'm glad you liked it more than me. I'll never be mad at someone for liking something. I'll honestly, more often than not, I'll be jealous. I wish I had gotten something out of it. You did. Good on you. Not me, though. It's not that it was complicated. The comic was just a mess. It barely had a plot after the setup beyond the cyborg is the evil one. Okay, so then why adapt it at all? That becomes an argument to not even adapt that as a piece of source material. Not a defense of the thing that they made. Would you recommend the She-Ra reboot? Oh, God, yes. I love that thing. It's just that none of the scenes I've seen from the show impressed, to be honest, though I don't hate it, just not excited. I mean, your mileage may vary. It depends on what appeals to you. For me and my sensibilities, I love it. I absolutely love it. But, like, it's not for everybody. Nothing is. Have you heard the rumors that Matt Smith will be playing Palpatine in the new Star Wars? No, I only heard that whatever character he was playing has been cut from the film. That I heard. That's happened to him a few times. Okay, so let me pop on back to the Discord real quick. Is the fact that there are new content outlets that I know of besides YouTube one of the reasons why YouTube feels the fact that there are few content outlets besides YouTube, one of the reasons YouTube feel they can make sweeping changes and not always favorable policy changes? I mean, it's part of the reason that they don't have to massively worry about what creators think. Now, they can't completely screw us over. because it will, if they are too callous and too poisonous towards creators, they can poison the well, and people might start abandoning out of spite. At this point, whatever problems YouTube has, they're not big enough to make it worth abandoning the potential audience size. Because like I said, you can't really grow on any other platforms as they currently exist. What are your experiences with claims on your video? Does it impact your plans on video essay? So my experience with claims have been varied. So some studios are just awful about it, and some of them are pretty chill. Disney's pretty chill. Warner Brothers is pretty chill. BBC can go either way. But when they decide to get a bug up their butt, they're really bad. Fox has been a pain. I don't know. Eventually I expect they'll soften because they've now been acquired by Disney. But during the first chunk of these sorts of transitions, they're usually operated as they have been. So that's probably still not very bad. And then, Paramount can just go straight to hell. So it's a variety of things. My experience, for the most part, most copyright claims issued, I have successfully fought on the basis of fair use. There have been a couple where the copyright holder did not capitulate. Because most of them, if you say, hey, fair use, they'll back off. But some of them won't. They'll still say, no, we're still claiming this. Which is what the BBC did with my Bury Your Queers video. Does it impact how I approach video essays? Yes, it does, because it does impact it impacts both the writing and the editing stages, because what I am going to use as a point of reference changes. So like I've got one that I'm trying to double check who has the copyright on all the clips I want to use for it, to make sure that they're not any of the people that I know are problems. And I might have to roll the dice on some that I don't really know. So yeah, it does actually impact things, because there are just some people I don't want to mess with. And like, it's not even just the video essays. When I review a Paramount movie, I won't even show an image. Like I have Joel, my guy who does the thumbnails, he uses the image not available thing when I review a Paramount movie. That's how bitter I am with those jerks. Let's see. If you could completely remove any Doctor episode from canon other than Hellbent, well, like, other than Hellbent, that the thing is, like, other bad episodes don't have bigger implications by their badness. So, like, Fear Her is an awful episode, but I don't feel the need to remove it from canon because its badness doesn't spread out and affect anything else. Hellbent is kind of unique in that way, in that the ways in which it's bad have ripple effects. That's really not the case with almost anything else. So I'm not sure there's anything I would remove other than Hellbent. Happy I didn't miss all the stream. Hey, Zandir, nice to see ya. Remove Kill the Moon. I never had as big an issue with Kill the Moon as other people did. I'm really curious as to what I'll think of it when I get to it on the rewatch. I'm a ways off from that one though. What Doctor Who character would you like to have as a roommate? I mean, Craig seems chill and accommodating. Failing that, maybe Mickey. All right, gonna pop on back to the Discord real quick. Let's see. Not YouTube related, but this one's in here. How old were you when you had your first relationship? I started dating when I was 16, so sophomore year of high school. Who was your inspiration for starting YouTube? Nobody. Initially, because if you go way back to the start of this channel, it was scripted shorts and bore no resemblance to what it is now. Initially, I just fell on YouTube by default because it was free and I could upload this stuff, and I had this friggin', series of shorts in my head. I'd had it for a few years and I just needed to do it and be done with it so that I knew I'd done it and I could move on and start doing other things. One of the major inspirations for the format that I started doing, which was me ranting at the camera, was Jeremy Johns and also Chris Stuckman to a certain extent. But after a while, I haven't really deliberately taken inspiration from anybody in a while. There are probably unconscious inspirations that I don't even clock in my head at this point, but that's hard to track for obvious reasons. What is your opinion of Man of Steel? I haven't rewatched it since the first time I saw it. I remember thinking at the time, I don't like what this is, but it's a decent enough version of what it is chosen to be, if that makes sense. My guilty pleasures are Superman 3 and 4. Wow. Way more watchable than Superman Returns. That's bold. We haven't had a good Superman movie since 2, unless you count the animated films like The Elite. I was going to say, have you seen all the animated films? Because some of them are quite good. All-Star Superman's another really good one. Designing Women drops on Hulu in 5 days. So excited. I never got into that one. Golden Girls I like, though. That's a good show. What's your opinion on The Thief and the Cobbler? I still haven't seen it. Any version of it. I would like to. The story behind that thing is fascinating, but I haven't seen any version of that still. Have you stopped using nail polish white? No, I haven't stopped. The thing is, I'm not out at my job, and so I don't wear nail polish during the week. I wear it on weekends, so it shows up in any video that I happen to shoot on a weekend or otherwise a day that I have off. But, I have to, well, I don't have to. I choose to take it off for my job. Strictly speaking, there are legal protections for gender identity where I work, but I work at a conservatively minded company staffed by conservatively minded people in a conservative area. It's not a matter of they don't let me do this. I don't feel comfortable being out at work. So that's why I don't have the nail polish on as much as I would like to be completely honest about it. I mean, it's one of the things that I tend to think about, if I can ever build this thing to the point of, between this and Patreon, and I don't know, if I can get some other books published, that this becomes my living. If I can ever get to that point, that'll be amazing. And one of the reasons I look forward to that as a possibility, as not unimaginable, but like a lot of legwork to do before I could get there, as it may be. Not having to hide anymore is one of them, because my job is basically the last significant part of my life that I'm not out and open, which sucks, because that's 40 hours of my week. Not to mention, a lot of those gender identity protections have been very quietly vanishing under the current administration. Well, this is a state protection, so it's not under federal protections. The state that I work in has state-level protections for gender identity. So the BS going on at the federal level doesn't impact that, but I also know enough about HR and everything else to know that that only protects you so much, because It just gives a reason that they're not allowed to fire you. But the simple truth is, if I started being out and open and having nail polish on and wearing dangly earrings and going in with lipstick, they couldn't, strictly speaking, fire me because of that. But if I started doing that and the people I work for were uncomfortable with it, they could find a reason to get rid of me. Even if ultimately they just decided, oh, well, we're eliminating your position. We're not firing you, we're just cutting the job. So, you know, what can you do? There are plenty of ways they could get rid of me if I was making people uncomfortable by my presence. They just couldn't fire me specifically because of that. Companies find reasons, though. I don't drink alcohol, being Muslim and all, but Golden Girls has aged well like fine wine. Yes, it has. That show has aged shockingly well, I would say. Because a lot of comedies, 80s era especially, like a lot of that humor has aged badly. Golden Girls holds up really well. It's still really funny. It's really nice. And like, all the characters are great. There's a reason to love absolutely all of them. But I over the years, I've taken a particularly like to how much pride Blanche takes in, and I'm only going to use this word because they use it in the show, and she practically self-identifies as this, her tendencies to be a slut. She's not only unashamed of it, she takes pride in it. Like, I remember Dorothy at one point saying that Rose was the biggest slut in the room. And Blanche goes, Dorothy's Bornak, you take that back. And it was great. Or one of my favorite things, she's talking with her mother who has dementia and like gets her kids confused. And she's sharing a story with her mother. Hey, remember this? And her mother goes, you know, confuses her with her other kid. And she goes, I don't understand. Wasn't Virginia the slut? And Blanche goes, no, ma'am, that was May. Said with utter pride. I love that. Oh, that's such a good show. Is the Golden Girls set the same as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Not that I know of. I mean, it's possible it was maybe shot on the same lot, but that's not the same thing. Condoms, Rose. Condoms, condoms, condoms. And I have to wonder if the fact that I have now said the word slut like 4 times is now going to get this this demonetized when I archive it. I bet you it will. Ah. Have you watched The Boys? I gotta add that to the list of drink questions. No, I haven't. I might eventually, but like, I'm not a huge fan of Garth Ennis, who wrote the original comic. So that has not been a priority. If you could collaborate with any YouTuber, who would you want to do videos with and why? Oh, okay. So like, if I'm going with somebody who I haven't worked with already, because obviously I would love to do something with Stu Bagful again. And there are some people who I have reached out and talked to that I want to try and do stuff with, and I've now done stuff with Crispy Pro and Ace Creeper. But if we could find something to like merge together on, I'd love to do something with Passion of the Nerd. I'm not like gonna go like shoot for the moon of like, oh, I want to do something that in some way collaborate with ContraPoints and Folding Ideas. Like, no, those people are way out of my league. Like the idea of me even saying that is ridiculous. But yeah, like something like Passion of the Nerd, or actually Channel Pup. I think I'd be fun to do something with if I ever get the chance. And I probably could. The problem with all these things is always finding the time, because you have to find an opening in your schedules. You have to figure out what you're going to do. You have to figure out if you're going to script it, or if it's going to be a live discussion, how you're going to format it. It's surprisingly complicated. Mr. Tardis, I mean, yeah, I'd be up for it. The only Garth Ennis comic I read was Hitman, because I enjoyed the characters, and Ennis showed his appreciation for Superman in that one issue. I liked Ennis's early work with Punisher. Like, I like Welcome Home Frank. I don't like some of the later stuff that he did with Punisher. Oh, I also like Punisher Born, which was him. But some of the later stuff he did with Punisher I didn't love. And Preacher, I gave up volume 3 or 4. think it was 4, I walked away from Preacher on. Because what I've always said about Garth Ennis is the man is about 70% as clever as he thinks he is. He is clever. He's not dumb. He writes well, but he's not as clever as he thinks he is. And that comes across to me. And that was really starting to eat at me as I started to get further and further into Preacher, which is why I had to bail on it. Hi, new here. Hello there. Gotta go, but big love for everyone. Oh, thank you very much. What other representation in media identities would you like to explore in the future? Oh, well, like I've actually already shot a video on non-binary representation. So that's in the can. Well, shooting is in the can. I need to edit it. And that's actually going to be a bit of a beast because that conversation went on a long time. And I think for it to flow best, I need to rearrange certain parts of it. So that's actually going to be an intimidating piece. And that is going to be, if I can nail it down, that'll be next month that comes out. After that, I don't know. I mean, there's plenty more for me to look into. It. I think it's largely a question of who I can find to talk to about some of it. How do you feel about the Shazam movie? I still haven't seen it. So your question about the specific element, I don't know because I have not seen it. Did you get the chance to watch Brightburn? Nope, did not come out around me. Hold on, I'm going to hop back to the Discord real quick. What subgenres apart from YouTube do you watch? Like here on YouTube, it's mostly movie related stuff that I watch. So like I'm still subscribed to Jeremy Johns, and I follow Bob Chipman because I think his stuff is well done out. And I initially found Patrick Willems and Folding Ideas through their stuff on movies. But you know, I've got I've got a bit of a bread tube diet as well, if you know what that is. And like a limited amount of video game stuff, Jim Sterling, Yahtzee Croshaw. I don't have a dedicated following to a subgenre. I like find specific people who I like, kind of no matter what they're talking about. And that's sort of the thing. When I subscribe to someone, it's usually more about I like you and less about I like the subject you're talking about. Which is why there are times where I'll watch a video and like I agree or like thought was really interesting all the things that person said, but something about them, whether it's their vocal delivery or what have you, just wasn't clicking for me, and I won't keep following them. It's not because they aren't good, it's just because I didn't click with the presenter. I mean, ultimately, that's what I need. I'm the same with podcasts. Do you watch Film Joy videos? I'm not familiar with that one. You got bread pilled. No, because most of the stuff that folks who are considered to be BreadTube tend to talk about was stuff I was pretty much already on board with. So the whole implication of bread pilled, you know, to do it as a parallel to red pilled or anything of that nature is to imply eyes open and life changed. I'm like, no, I was pretty much there for the most part already. Water. Do you listen to the other Team Puma Knife podcasts or just Improvised Weapons? Right now it's just Improvised Weapons. I keep meaning to check out their other stuff and not getting around to it. Are you looking forward to the Netflix new Dark Crystal? Heck yes! Oh my god, yes. I'm very excited for that. Any channels you aren't subscribed to but still watch a fair amount of? I'm not subscribed to like Seth Meyer with whatever his show is. But his stuff will still come up in my recommendations, and about 50% of the time I will watch it. Or another thing, like I mentioned this on Twitter, I've been falling down a rabbit hole lately with videos from Penn and Teller Fool Us. And there isn't one channel for that because mostly it's the actual magicians whose tricks were performed on there, putting it up on their own personal channels. So I'm jumping all over these channels to see these things. When does it cross the line between your own personal morals or the general idea of the morality of the channel itself when controlling content? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by controlling content, Gabe. It sounds like an interesting question, but I'm not entirely sure I understand what it is you're asking. Do you watch Dominic Noble, the Dom? He compares books and their movie adaptations. Occasionally. Have another drink. On occasion, I have. I haven't like done a real dive into his back catalog, but I've liked what I've seen so far. Meaning, how adult can you get on that channel? Okay, so are you asking for me or like my thoughts on other people's channels? Like for me, I really make an effort to stay family friendly because I don't think any of the topics I'm discussing should be off limits to an all ages audience. So I try and always approach stuff from an all ages perspective. That's me with my own stuff. I love ContraPoint. This Natalie is awesome. Yeah, she is, and she's amazingly just open and very honest in a way that never feels like I'm letting you in on my life, but we get little glimpses. She puts a lot of herself into this and is very upfront in discussions about things that a lot of people in her position wouldn't talk about, which I appreciate. Okay, should the topic be specific or based on your own moral values? I'm sorry, Gabe. I really feel like I'm not fully grasping what it is you're getting at with these questions. I mean, if you're asking, do I think people should only have more a more adult content style approach for stuff that is already adult content? Well, no. You talk about whatever you want to talk about, however you want to talk about it. For the most part, within reason. But I feel like you're asking something specific, and I'm just not understanding the question, which I feel bad about, to be completely honest. What was the first movie you remember seeing in theaters? The first one, it actually was the first movie that I saw in theaters, which was the Care Bears movie. It was the very first movie I ever saw in theaters. I don't remember like the whole experience, but I remember like moments being in the theater. Yeah, no, Gabe, you basically just asked the same question again with like one or two words changed. I'm not understanding. I don't understand what you're asking. If anyone can translate that, because I feel like I want to answer it, but I don't get the question. And I'm sorry. I feel like an asshat for that. But have you seen any of Moving Mind Studio stuff? Ryan George's sketch team. I haven't seen his sketch team stuff. I've seen his own stuff. He's another one who I don't subscribe to him, but I do like pop up on his I do click on his stuff when it pops up in my recommendations. I do enjoy his things. Overall, what's your favorite thing about being a YouTuber? Having an outlet that people seem to actually want to take in what I'm putting down, or pick up what I'm putting down. Take in what I'm putting down sounds possibly dirty. But whatever you want to do with what I'm putting down, I suppose. But as someone with a lot of creative ambitions, my biggest fear is always I put work and time and effort and thought and creativity into something, and then nobody reads it, watches it, listens to it, whatever it may be. That's always my biggest fear. And one of the main reasons I've been able to get a bit better about that, and I'm actually now working towards working on getting my novel published, is because at this point, I have a reliable outlet that I can come to, that I know that I can talk about stuff and that people will want to hear it. And just being heard when you dread that nobody cares about what you have to say is a very, very powerful thing. And I've gotten that through this platform, and I'll always be grateful for that. Looking back on Doctor Who Series 11, a lot of the detractors and defenders over-exaggerate the whole thing and weren't objective about it at all. It was an average season. Taken as a whole, I would say it's actually a below-average season, but the episodes that are good in it are really good. I just feel that there are actually fewer really good episodes than is standard for Doctor Who. But no, it's both its strengths and its issues are greatly exaggerated by either side. Don't feel bad. Thanks, Gabe. I appreciate that. Thank you for letting me off the hook a little bit. My BF and I are rewatching Harry Potter along with you. We're enjoying your breakdowns. Great. Next one of those is next week, because that's every 2 weeks for those. Do you watch Dorm Monster? Them, I don't know. So I guess that's a no. Have you ever seen Cyber 6? Japanese, Canadian, Argentinian cartoon from the 90s? Nope. Not familiar with that one. Do you have an opinion on using your real name as opposed to a screen name when beginning an online presence? An opinion? No. Just do whatever you're comfortable doing. I have no judgment on anybody going either direction on that. Do you believe it's important as a critic? Thank you for putting critic in quotes. Oh, geez, Passion of the Nerd, crap. To be engaged in your own creative endeavors like writing, or is the art of criticism enough? Yeah, Roger Ebert did write Valley of the Dolls. I would say it's not a requirement. It's not a barrier to entry. Like, I would never make a statement like, you have no right to criticize until you've tried to do the same thing. But I do think getting stuck in to the process of trying to create something can give you a better insight as to where and how things go really right or go really wrong from the creation side of it. Now, that said, I think people who don't have any background in that or any ambition to that are still perfectly capable of delivering very well done critique. But it's going to be much more on the experiential side and not necessarily having the knowledge of how the thing was created. Now, again, that doesn't mean you can't critique it because, it's the old thing, I may not know art, but I know what I like. Everyone has an opinion, and as long as you are able to express that in a way that is cogent and makes sense to people and people connect with, that's fine. But I do find it interesting that virtually all of the critics or people who produce in some way critical material seem to also pursue their own creative endeavors. There's a few of them who I don't know if they do, but virtually all of them that I know that I really, really like seem to. And I'm not sure if that's necessarily something that points to you should definitely do this, but at least for the kind of criticism that I enjoy, they seem to go hand in hand. We'll go with that. I've been making YouTube videos for over 6 years and haven't made a penny. but I'm still going today because it's just pure fun in my opinion. And that's great. Because, like, that's rule number one. Enjoy doing it. Because if you don't, why are you here? Now, it's not always fun. It can be work. But, like, at the end of the day, underneath it, you need to be able to sit back and go, am I happy I spent my time doing that? Yes. Yes, I am. Then you keep doing it. What was your opinion on Umbrella Academy? I liked it pretty well. I didn't love Vanya's storyline and where it went, but overall it was pretty good. I really liked Five, and I really liked Klaus, and I really liked Hazel. Those are sort of the highlights for me. I consider Prisoner of Azkaban to be the only genuinely great Harry Potter movie. Do you agree to or disagree? Yeah, I absolutely disagree. I'll get to it when I talk about the movie, but Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite book in the series. It is not my favorite movie in the series, and I shall explain that in more detail when I get to it. Yay. Are critics better at taking criticism? No. You'd think so. And that's not to say that all critics like have thin skin, but like I suspect you get the same percentage of people who can take criticism and can't in the field of criticisms as with almost anything else. So I don't think they're any better or worse inherently. Do you have third parties re-uploading your content, and how do you handle it? If so, takedowns or let it be? To the best of my knowledge, nobody's re-uploading my content, at least not on YouTube. If it's getting re-uploaded on other platforms somewhere else, I'm not going to take the time to deal with that. Because it's not siphoning off anything from here. YouTube's it's free to view. You know, why would anyone go to some weird other thing? So if anyone's re-uploading my stuff on YouTube, I don't know about it. If I ever find out about it, I don't know. I'll figure out what I'm going to do about it. Yeah, that would be a purely hypothetical issue for me at this point. Favorite Faulty Towers episode? I mean, it's hard not to love the Germans episode. They're all really good, though. I should wrap it up soon because I've got editing to do. That Spider-Man video that I mentioned is going to be out tomorrow. I have shot, but I need to edit. Let's see. I'm going to pop back to the Discord real quick. Have you seen Pitch Meeting series on Screen Rant with Ryan George? I have. Not all of them, but I have seen a fair amount. My son is wanting to do YouTube, but says his only software is Movie Maker and has no idea how to get started, i.e. planning out content, etc. Any advice? I can't really give you too much advice on Movie Maker specifically because I've never used it. Well, that's not true. Like some of the first few videos I put up on the Vera Wild channel, I did with Movie Maker. But God, that was ages and ages and ages and ages ago. So I can't give you any advice on that as an editing software or using it. As far as planning things out, I mean, it depends on what he wants to do. Like I would advise against anyone just starting out to overplan, because honestly, at least in my experience, you learn best by doing. And the biggest mistake that anyone in any creative field, and yes, content creation on YouTube is a creative field, even if it's critique, even if it's commentary and criticism of other people's work, this is still a creative endeavor. The biggest mistake people in any creative field make is spending all their time thinking about what they're going to do and never doing it. It's why it's the old cliche that, everybody sitting on a laptop in a coffee shop is an unpublished screenwriter. Or, everyone has the Great American Novel, that book in their head that they like, oh, that'd be great, but they never actually sit down and write it. I think the best thing you can do is not get too ambitious at the start. Start with very simple ideas. And they can be ridiculous, they can be stupid, they can be silly, they can be something that you're like, I have no idea this will work. Start small, start simple, develop a rhythm, get used to the equipment, get used to the camera, get used to the editing software. Don't try and be Orson Welles. Don't try and make Citizen Kane as your first project. Start basic, work your way up. So if he's getting hung out on where to start or what to plan, then my initial thought is he's thinking too hard about it. One more off the Discord. Do you think you'll be doing Let's Plays of any other games in the future, or is Newfound Courage the only one you're planning on experimenting this style with? Newfound Courage is obviously the first of these that I'm doing. It'll depend partly on response, but obviously, like this is a niche indie game. I'm not expecting a huge response on it. I've been pretty happy with it so far. I'm thinking about some other possibilities. Part of it, like, it's never going to be something I'm going to do. Oh, new game just came out, I'm going to do that. Like, no. If I do it, it's going to be on a limited basis and very, very, very selectively. So, like, an example of something that I'm thinking about maybe I'll do is I just recently got and completed my first playthrough on Bastion, which I loved. And I really want to check out some of the other games from the developer, from Supergiant Games. So maybe I'll try a Let's Play of Transistor or Pyre. One of the things they've made since Bastion. But it would be that kind of thing. It would be something shorter. It would be something that I could basically, a full playthrough would be 3 to 4 hours. And not be something that's going to require me to learn twitch reflexes, because I don't have gamer muscle memory anymore. But we'll see. It's possible. I do need to wrap it up soon. What's the best video game for streaming? Don't ask me that. I have no idea. That's good advice. I'm trying to be a writer, though I'm 39, so I'm too old. Darn your real life, so your advice is helpful. You are never too old to write. You're never too old to start doing any creative endeavor. However old you are, first of all, if you're 39, you're only 2 years older than I am, first off. So thanks for that. But beyond that, you're never too old. You are never too old to start doing the thing you want to do with your life. Whether that is writing a book, whether that is doing YouTube, whether that is trying your hand at stand-up comedy, whether it's learning to sing, play the piano, as long as you have the physical capability of doing it, and even if you don't, there's workarounds for a lot of this stuff, just do it. The excuse of I'm too old, it's a rationalization that we can fall into. Thinking I missed my window. It's like, no, make your own window. Thank you very much, Nina. Much appreciated. I wrote my first book and it's on Amazon. Congratulations. Never mind, I felt old already. I'm 39, but I just want to get Nathaniel to understand what my question was about. Well, I mean, like, maybe you're being too ambitious there, but, you know. You know what, Gabe? Like, maybe we can bang it out on the Discord and I can address it next live stream if I can wrap my head completely around it. After that rousing speech, I'm going to sit down and write out the story I've been thinking about for a year. Good. Good. I'm 33. I just finished a drama degree, started doing guitar lessons. Awesome. I'm halfway through writing a book. It's about the super geeky topic of topography. Fantastic! Oh, I've been trying to write a book series, among other interests. Yes! 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 Do the thing. Whatever is the thing that you want to do, or you started and haven't gotten back to yet, do the thing. I'm trying to do the thing. Like I said, I'm I'm actually working on seeing my novel work through. Hopefully, I'll have that ready for next year, and we'll see. That, you know what, that actually might be next week's topic. You know, writing creativity, working on a novel for as long as I have, because I've been working on this thing for friggin' ever. I think that'll probably be next week's topic. But for now, we do have to wrap up because I have to edit. So thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun. How much do you know about H.P. Lovecraft? Enough to know that you need to be willing to overlook a lot of textual and subtextual issues with his work some of the time. Have you seen Intimidation Game? I have not yet. So love your videos. Thank you very much. Any tips for proper representation? Been doing a video a month for over a year, addressing issues of proper representation. So I don't have a simple answer to bang out in the last few minutes. All right. So everybody have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. This has been fun, as it always is. So thanks everybody for the support, the love, the kindness, listening, talking, working. Do your thing. Whatever it is, go and do it. And remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are the council. I just run these meetings.